From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN Statewide News this Wednesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, there's optimism today about the pandemic as COVID vaccine production ramps up. However, the White House warns some states may be moving too quickly as they roll back coronavirus restrictions. Natalie Brand has more details from Capitol Hill.
It is now time to open Texas 100%.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced his state is completely lifting COVID restrictions next week. No mask mandate, no capacity limits indoors. Mississippi is also rescinding its mask mandate, but the White House says now is not the time to relax restrictions.
We think it's critical, particularly now as we're starting to see an increase in cases in Texas, which we've seen over the last week. And particularly as we have plans now to vaccinate the country, that now's not the time to do this.
Vaccination plans are ahead of schedule, with President Biden announcing there should be enough vaccine for every American by the end of May.
That's progress, important progress. But it's not enough to have the vaccine supply. We need vaccinators, people to put the shots in people's arms.
Today, the White House announced a new initiative with health insurers to help vaccinate older patients in vulnerable communities. Here on Capitol Hill, the Senate is preparing to take up President Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package, with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer saying debate could begin as early as today.
Look, we want to get the biggest, strongest, boldest bill that can pass, and that's what we're working to do.
We'll be fighting this in every way that we can. It is my hope that at the end, Senate Republicans will unanimously oppose it, just like House Republicans did.
Even without Republican support, Leader Schumer says he believes he has the votes needed to pass the bill. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, Democrats have stripped two infrastructure items that were included in the bill: money to dig a subway tunnel in the Silicon Valley and a bridge between New York and Ontario. Now, Republicans use the items to bash the spending as pork barrel projects for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. However, both items were supported by the Trump administration before the COVID relief bill was written. Well, after a Montana family's mule was shot and killed in the Bitterroot last week, the Ravalli County Sheriff's Office is investigating this suspicious death. In a press release, Sheriff Steve Holton says today that the mule was killed by an apparent gunshot wound sometime between 8 p.m. on Thursday and 4 p.m. on Friday, south of Stevensville. Holton says the crime is being investigated as criminal mischief, and since the animal was a commonly domesticated hooved animal, that penalty is a felony. If you know of someone who was shooting in the area of East Side Highway south of Stevensville, please contact the Ravalli County Sheriff's Office. Well, the investigation into the events on Capitol Hill on January 6th has already yielded roughly 300 arrests. Those include 3 Montana men. A pair of Helena area brothers face 9 charges each for their alleged actions at the Capitol. Investigators say during the riot, the brothers joined with another man who engaged in a confrontation with Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman. Court documents state the rioters kept advancing on Officer Goodman in a menacing manner, and that Douglas Austin Jensen was the primary aggressor, followed immediately by the Hughes brothers. A federal judge in Montana has ordered the brothers be transferred to Washington, D.C. Dillon business owner Hank Muntzer is also charged and pleaded not guilty to 5 charges for his actions that day. And Helena police and the school district are investigating racist graffiti painted across doors at Capitol High School last week. Well, last Thursday, staff arrived to find a set of doors at the building spray painted with 2020 BLDM and the word "don't" in parentheses. Authorities believe the language is meant to be interpreted as Black Lives Don't Matter. Helena police are looking into surveillance video right now. Anyone with information about what happened is asked to contact Helena police or school faculty. Well, Missoula County Public School officials released the final schedule for the remainder of the school year, and that includes the move to some 5-day classes for high school students. Superintendent Rob Watson says the first of the 5-day weeks begins March 29th. Since the start of the school year, Mondays have been used for remote learning and allowing for classrooms and gathering locations to be cleaned and disinfected. Well, some students and staff are against the move to 5 days. And Watson says the district is attempting to balance where high school COVID cases are coming from and making sure students are getting as much instruction as possible.
especially as we end the school year and we start thinking about these courses wrapping up, so these high school courses wrapping up, it was important for us to add more instructional days when we could. There is no perfect solution, but it's a balance in trying to maintain our COVID protocols, but also add a few more instructional days before the end of the school year.
And the K-8 schedule for the rest of the year includes several more 5-day in-person learning weeks, which will begin after spring break. Well, the long-awaited one-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine has now been administered in the U.S. An 86-year-old woman from Columbus, Ohio, is the first to receive the vaccine. She tells CNN, "It was really exciting when I got out of my car. I was shaking. I was so excited. I couldn't wait." Johnson & Johnson is the third COVID-19 vaccine to be authorized for use in the U.S. Unlike the other two, it only requires one shot and is more easily transported and stored since it can be kept at normal refrigerator temperatures. Almost 4 million doses of the J&J vaccine are available immediately. And Dr. Anthony Fauci is contributing to the Smithsonian's coronavirus exhibit. He has donated his personal 3D model of the COVID-19 virus to the museum. Staff at the Smithsonian say they wanted an artifact from Fauci since he's played a major role in helping the country get through the pandemic. Fauci has used the virus model in dozens of interviews to explain COVID-19. An international nonprofit is hoping to launch a mobile app that will help Indigenous tribes learn more about their culture and their land. Calling Last was raised in Hart Butte and has relatives on the Blackfeet Reservation and in Canada. Now, she started Indigenous Vision 4 years ago to bring relevant information and resources to tribes. The website has grown to include maps with more than 40,000 different data entries that look into specific social and economic impacts. The service is also uncovering migration patterns and stories shared by Native peoples during historical events. Indigenous Vision operates in 4 states and Canada with the goal of expanding. Well, we have more ahead on your noon news, including a story that's sure to tickle the ivories. A Montana piano teacher who's teaching lessons despite the virus. But first, Miller is in next with your statewide weather forecast. Do not go away.